My father as a child developed an interest in flying saucers, whereas an adult, he tried to build his own flying saucer. The documentary you are about to see shows electrical experiments that my father believes has startling implications in UFO propulsion, and it is not ordinary DC lifter craft, but what he calls AC Ionic Wave. I've released self-published books, illustrated books that go into greater detail into his experiments and are available for purchase online.
It's recording.
Okay. What I'm doing is I'm applying a DC high voltage to this part here, and you see it's attracting. But it's covered with insulation where the electrons cannot get to the high voltage conducting surface. So what it's going to do, it's going to rob the electrons from the air, and this is going to be like a half capacitor where it accumulates the opposite charge. But over here with the AC,
What do you call that? Where the paper is attracting to it, the half capacitor. What do you call that?
that is a high positive charge. But notice it's getting weaker because it's accumulating the opposite charge on the surface.
Is it using AC or DC?
DC. This is DC.
Okay.
All right. It's getting weaker.
Yeah.
Okay. Now then, the same thing here. If the needle points are pushing the negative ion towards the positive repulsor, they're going to coat the positive repulsor with the opposite charge, just like what you saw here.
And rebulsor is just a
The
term.
repulsor is the insulation around the opposite plate.
Okay.
This is the opposite plate here. This is the insulation around it. It's called a repulsor, but known to confuse that with the collector of a triode. Okay. Now then,
Don't confuse it with a collector of a triode.
a vacuum tube triode.
Okay, not the same thing.
You have the emitter, the grid, and the collector.
Okay.
If you coat the collector, the electrons cannot enter into the collector. It coats the collector like it did here.
Okay.
All right. So this is coated with the opposite charge, but remember this is AC. So then the opposite charge here permits the opposite wave of ions to be neutralized, and this will result in this happening. This is turned on. Oh, it should be. Oh, I don't have it connected now.
You must connect your inventions.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful. Whoa, watch out.
Okay. That's what happens.
Yeah, you almost got your ass zapped.
All right. So then there's a big difference here, isn't there? If I'm using AC, well, the surface charge it gets expelled and substituted with the opposite charge 50 times a second. Well, 50 times a second results in this.
Oh, you can smell the ozone.
Yeah, that's that's the result.
Where's the ozone smell coming from?
Because I'm ionizing the air that's going to the opposite charge.
You said that kills viruses and stuff?
Yeah, it kills bugs, viruses, germs.
Is it coming from your AC or DC?
The ions here are supersonic.
Wow.
They're colliding with molecules in the atmosphere with such intensity that it ionizes the gas in the air.
Oh, that's a nice smell, like from after a thunderstorm.
Yeah, it's very sanitizing. There you go.
Wow.
Okay. Now that's the difference between that and this. This is DC here.
Okay.
You see how weak it's gotten.
Yeah.
All right. Now what if I turn it off? It's going to expel the charge that on the accumulated.
Yeah.
And it gets
no longer sticks.
This happens real fast because you have these wave of negative ions followed by positive ions 50 times a second. Now then, if you look at this thing right here, you see poor craftsmanship. The needle points are not exactly the same distance from the repulsor, and therefore only a few needle points are actually generating the thrust. The ones that are further in are just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So then what actually generating the thrust is maybe a dozen of needle points. The others, are, for not being precisely the same distance away, are doing nothing. But the few that are generating thrust is generating a powerful amount of thrust.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Coated with insulation. All right, the electrons are attracted towards the grid, but the plate is not like this with the electrons going this way. It's this way, so it bounces off. The electron
That's what you mean by debulser.
it bounces.
Rebulser.
The gas hits the plate that facing like this and bounces off and continues to go down without losing its kinetic energy.
Okay, do a short summary again. I accidentally pressed stop. That's a triad.
This is a triac.
Okay, triac. Okay.
Triac. Okay, vacuum tube triac. In a vacuum tube, only the electrons leave the metal and is attracted through the grid towards the collector, and then they collide. The electrons collide with the collector and goes into the metal itself and makes a return. Okay, what happens is the repulsor is the collector coated where the electrons cannot enter into the metal itself but accumulate on the surface. But the repulsor is not faced like a wall, it's faced like this. Okay. And that way the gas bounces off the repulsor and continues downward. But because it is AC, you have positive ions followed by negative ions, positive ions 50 times a second. And the surface charge neutralizes the ion charge passing is down. And so you have this continuous acceleration that causes the thing to generate a continuous sustained thrust.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. That's it. Metal. Spin it.
I medici dovevano pubblicare la razza radiana con le sue origini teutoniche e no. I risultati delle generazioni. Quando i ricercatori hanno pubblicato i dati dal 1998 al 2013, hanno riscontrato un fatto sorprendente. In alcuni punti, i numeri generati dalle macchine hanno deviato dalle...
Una cassetta di sicurezza collegata a un punto corrente di scala Romeo risulta verde completamente svuotata e illuminata. Alle domande di PM Romeo.
La foto finì sulle prime pagine di tutti i giornali. Gli studiosi furono accolti da eroi. Tra di essi vi era Bruno Becker, un antropologo razzista nonché uno dei protagonisti di anni.
Gene Watson, inventor, AC Ionic Wave Thrust.